diving. Hope comes and stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raw Recovery with Dion Miller. Today, we have a special guest, Wendy. We'll be talking to Wendy here in a second. This will be our Tuesday episode. I appreciate everybody being on and being a part of. Again, our guest today, I didn't get to know very well, so I'm going to be doing it while we're all getting to know her. I did get a chance to talk with her a little bit, and I find it really neat because when it comes to recovery, it becomes such a small world. And Wendy has been doing this and been a part of it. She's been around for 21 years. She's legal age to drink now. But it's such a small world because she knows my mother and my stepdad, which is really cool. My mom has 35 years of sobriety. But without any further ado, Wendy, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dion, and thanks, Joe, for help setting it up. My name's Wendy. I am one of those people who says she's a grateful alcoholic addict.
Fantastic.
I'm addicted to everything and can be addicted to everything.
Okay.
And for the grace of my higher power, I haven't used since March 28th of 1999.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know, Dion, it's not about the length, it's about the quality of sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the quality of my sobriety can change day to day.
Sure. We can have long-term sobriety and have bad days. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But that's what's so neat about having a good, solid foundation, though, huh?
Yeah, and I was really lucky that when I did choose to get sober and work the program, and I had such great mentors in AA up in Fort Collins that held my hand and told me what to do. And I was broken enough that I was willing to do it.
Yeah.
And I did what they told me. I went to 90 meetings in 90 days, 4 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
I got a sponsor and I shared when I didn't want to share. And they made me tell my story when I was 9 months and I didn't want to do it. And they said, it's good practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really teachable, but I wasn't always teachable. I had tried on my own to figure out how to drink recreationally and like a normal person, and I failed miserably.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a while for me to figure out that I was failing miserably. I thought it was everyone else's fault.
Certainly.
That I was an alcoholic, that it was my childhood, in Detroit, which, is a great town. I love Detroit.
Okay.
And I had parents that were kind of on the hippie side, because this is in the 60s.
Okay.
And my dad was a musician, so we always had crazy people, musicians at our house. We'd have parties, with a couple hundred people drinking. And I thought every kid in school had that, so drinking became part of my youth,
Yeah, it was normal.
I associated it with fun. And this is how people had fun. And then Irish Catholic. So even you weren't, the double fuck. And, we had alcohol around every function, and not just the fun ones, the funerals, the day-to-day things. So, I fit right into my family naturally. And, when I had my first drunk at age 15, I knew in that instant that alcohol was for me. A couple girlfriends and we stole plum wine from a neighbor's garage.
Okay.
And it was, the horrible thing is it was like old, so it was like vinegar, but we
And
didn't know any
warm.
better. So we drank all of it,
Okay.
threw up all over plum
Yeah.
wine coming out of your nose. It was beautiful.
Oh,
And
purple.
here's the thing. I couldn't wait to do it again, Dion.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, that sounds like amazing fun.
what could be better? And I knew, like, when I could taste it and
Okay.
feel the way it made me feel.
Okay.
And my best analogy for how alcohol made me feel, and this is my kid of a 60s, 70s showing my age, but you remember that show Gilligan's Island?
Oh, yeah, certainly.
So we always played Gilligan's Island on my street, and my cousin, a tall blonde, always got to be Ginger, and I had to be Marianne, and that really freaking pissed me off because I wanted to be Ginger. I wanted people to like me, and I wanted boys to like me because I never felt good in my own skin. When I drank, I was Ginger. Vodka made me Ginger. It gave me the confidence, and I lost fear, and I felt like I belonged.
Okay.
So that's how I can explain how drinking made me feel. I felt like Ginger.
Yeah.
I felt like I could do whatever I wanted.
Yeah. And if this helps any, I had a crush on Marianne. I thought she was cuter than Ginger.
You know,
So.
I have heard that since I got sober. So I'm
So
happy
please
to
be Marianne, please.
I'll be a please boring Marianne. But you know, I drank it to get drunk.
Yeah.
I didn't drink because I like the taste. Clearly, when you're barfing plum wine, you're not drinking because you like the taste.
That's correct.
And I drank to feel either something great or nothing at all.
Yep.
And I loved it. And it, growing up in the 70s, it worked. And then in high school and college, I didn't stick out because I hung out with other party animals.
Yep.
As I would say. And I used to call it partying. I don't call the way I drink partying anymore. No. I was a freaking alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking for 3 days straight, barfing your brains out, saying horrible things to the people you love is not partying. That's no, you're an alcoholic. And there was no one I could talk to about it growing up because my family, we had that shame thing going on where you never talked about alcohol in the family or alcoholism. We never used the word alcoholic or problems. My grandpa, who was my best friend, I didn't figure out till, and this was, I was age 20, till like 10 years after he died that he was an alcoholic. I thought Grandpa had the flu. Every 6 weeks, Grandpa would have the flu.
Yeah.
We couldn't talk to him, and he lost his car once because, I don't know what store bullshit they told me, but I bought it.
Yeah.
And couldn't drink out of his Coke bottle. And then finally, my cousin told me, like at some other function, like, what are you, crazy, Wendy? Grandpa was an alcoholic. And it hit me like, oh my God.
Yeah.
All the pieces fit. But to this day, my mother will still not acknowledge that her dad was an alcoholic.
Okay. All right.
So there was no one I could really talk to. But what I did do was move to Vail in the 80s, and that really was a fix for everything. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have to say a lot. Alcohol and cocaine were my
I mean, it's Vail.
Oh,
so,
in the 80s. I mean, the cops had the best drugs.
Yeah, yeah. Vail was just the party place in the 80s. Everybody was up there. Right?
Yeah.
And they were all buying everything up, that and Keystone, and there was another place. But yeah, so that's why you guys heard me go the ooh, because a lot of stuff happened. I think that's where oh man, John, isn't that where John Denver crashed his car too into the ditch? It was up in Vail.
And he did it in Vail and in Aspen. He was kind of all over the place. And I was too. I mean, I thought I found my sweet spot in alcohol and drugs.
Okay.
And, once I added cocaine, that ride was pretty short-lived. I started owing money. And so And I got in a relationship at that point with a really super healthy person, unbelievably. And so he did what all good codependents do. We moved after 7 years there, and we ended up getting married and
Okay.
going back east to New York. And outside of Connecticut. And that was really good. And I could rein it in for a while. But never long enough. And when I drank alcoholically. I became completely powerless.
Okay.
And, I was talking to you earlier about the call that, powerless has been such a theme for me this month.
Okay.
And not just in my personal life, but I feel like 2020 is the year of powerlessness.
Yeah.
It's step one over and over every day between the pandemic and the, politics and the riots and the increased amount of addiction and mental health issues. I just feel powerless.
Yep.
And I'm really grateful to know now that I don't have to fix this. I'm not in charge.
That's right.
But I would say the epitome of my powerlessness came on November 6th of 1998.
Okay.
When, after drinking probably 12 or 15 beers before 10 in the morning, I drove my daughter to a soccer party.
Okay.
It was, that was my pre-gaming. Because by now I'm pre-gaming, it's all, and I drank alone at this point because I did not want anyone to know how much I drank. I wasn't having fun. I was drinking to escape my life and to cover up the shame from drinking, which is crazy.
And now is your turn to tell people not to drink from your Coke bottle.
Yes. Yeah. My Diet Coke can,
Yep. Sound like Grandpa.
We stayed in the Coke family. We never veered to Pepsi. Okay. So there you go. But that morning I had beer in my purse too at the McDonald's, and I probably drank 3 more beers and hung out with the other soccer moms, which I never fit in with.
Yeah.
And I drove 6 kids home that day. And I don't even remember that. I do remember when I got home, passing out, picking up another drink after that, and going in the kitchen, and I tripped on the step, and I fell flat on my face. I broke my jaw. I knocked out a tooth, and the sound of it sounded like the house had an earthquake, and my kids and husband ran downstairs to see what was wrong. I was spurting blood everywhere. Out of a vein in my neck. Okay. And I stood up, and I had no idea how bad it was. I said, I'm okay. And they looked at me with horror.
Yeah.
Horror. And my husband wrapped me in a blanket, threw me in the car. We went to the hospital.
Yeah.
And we went to the ER, and we rushed through, and they called a code 99. And I thought to myself, this is cool. Well, this is it. I didn't think it was me. I thought, cool, there's a car wreck coming in. There's going to be some action in this boring place.
Yeah, you were the action. Yeah.
I was the action. And they couldn't get the blood in fast enough. And I was still so drunk, I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
That told my husband, do you guys go to church? And he said, well, not really, but we're Catholic, kind of the typical Catholic for me back then, C&E.
Yeah.
They called Father Bob.
Priest.
And they called Father Bob and said, you want to come? Then they told my husband, you might want to get the kids. And I am laying there, they're trying to poke me and put blood in me. And clearly I didn't die. And I still had no idea the magnitude of the situation.
Yep.
None. And I remember seeing my husband's face, and I had never seen him look like that. Okay. And I thought, well, this is bad. This is probably not good.
Yeah.
This is bad. So they stitched me up. They were able to get enough blood in me, so I dodged the death bullet. And I remember being alone in that room, and my husband was out talking to doctors. I kind of grabbed the chart that was at the foot of my bed, and this is really fucked up. The doctor had written on my chart, totally inebriated, and underlined it. And he came back in the room, and I actually said to him, I am not totally inebriated. I am partially inebriated. And I believed it. Like, I'm like, how fucked up is this? You
of course
just, like,
we believe it.
The priest is standing out there ready to kiss your ass goodbye, and you are like, you want to pick a fight with the doctor.
Yep.
So that was sadly not my last drink. Left me in the room to sleep it off, and about 4 hours later, I recall remembering there was liquor in my purse, and my purse was in my room, and I drank 4 hours after getting last rites.
It sounds about right.
And
I mean, we don't fear, as alcoholics, I know myself, I didn't fear death.
No, living was hard.
I welcomed it. Yeah, I welcomed it. So, I had a heart attack at 42. I was drunk 2 hours after I got out of the hospital. You bet.
Yeah, so it just, shows me, like, we have no control in the grand illusion that we have control, that we are choosing this, that we are choosing to drink. I really believed, well, yeah, I'm choosing it because I had pain, or because of this is a stressful situation. Yeah, you're in the fucking hospital. I call that a stressful situation for drinking. And so my husband even covered up this story of she fell when she was vacuuming. Because I didn't go to treatment. They said you might want to do IOP. Well, I tried IOP. I got kicked out the second week for drinking in group.
You're not supposed to go to those drunk.
And at this point, I am still thinking, like, I'm drinking because my marriage is in trouble. No shit. I wonder why. And I have depression, and either my house wasn't nice enough, it was too nice. We had no money, we had too much money. Whatever it was, I really believed that all my problems were external.
Yes.
And had nothing to do with me, that I was a victim in this scenario, and that if everyone else would change and everything else could change, I would be fine and I wouldn't drink.
Well, and growing up with what you're doing, with things going on at this point of your life, it seems like it's the only normal one. I mean, you grew up in this kind of lifestyle. So, I mean, I could imagine your thinking would be, well, what's wrong with you people?
Yes, I'm just doing what everyone else does. So it took me, 3 months before I got to residential treatment. A few, passing out the mashed potatoes on Thanksgiving situations where finally, my husband was like, look, I thought I was part of the solution here. It's clear I'm not helping. I think I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
And he had said that 100,000 times, and I never believed it. But that time I knew he meant it.
He was going to do it. Yep.
Yeah. And he said it as I was barfing over the bathroom floor, where I have most of my spiritual experiences, by the way. And so I'm throwing up. I had a feeling come over me, Dion, and it was like goosebumpy.
Okay.
I had this thought, like, oh my God, he's going to leave. I'm going to be all alone, and I don't want to be drunk anymore.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I got the tingly, and I just felt like there was something in the room with me.
Wow.
I don't know if you want to call it angels, God, all of it. But a voice in my head said, everything is going to be okay. And I believed it.
Wow.
And I completely surrendered to the process.
Wow.
And I did, from that moment on, residential treatment.
Okay.
And up there, I learned all about the 12 steps, and what I had to do. And so when I left, I knew I had to go to 90 meetings in 90 days, 4 times a year.
I love that.
And
I'm stealing it.
Yeah, please. And find a sponsor and a home group. And, I was really lucky in Fort Collins that we have great 12-step community.
Sounds like it.
We have meetings all the time. And, apparently my first year was a little rough, because whenever I pick up a chip now, pre-COVID, everyone laughs at me and says, "Oh, I remember your first year, you cried the whole time." See, I don't remember it that way, but apparently it's true. Because I needed how to learn to live. And what I love about the 12 steps is it isn't about the drinking so much. It's about the way we live and the way we see ourselves and how we show up in the world. And 12 steps helped me see my part in the whole entire situation, which had never occurred to me. And they became my family of choice.
Wow.
And I distanced myself from my family of origin.
Okay.
In a healthy way, and I learned how to be a grown up.
Yeah.
And I still struggle,
Sure.
like this is the year of powerlessness. I have a mom who's a raging alcoholic. She smokes with one lung and she has Alzheimer's.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
So can I help her? No. The family's made that difficult. And I've had to realize I am powerless over that. My family, how they choose to treat it, how they choose to ignore it, whatever.
Okay.
I'm powerless. All I can do is love her from afar.
Yep.
And
tough love.
And some days it's harder.
Some days
it's harder, and so I know for me this year, it's a step 1 year. I'm powerless and my life can become unmanageable. And I proved that in the drinking. And, now I work in the field and I get very attached to clients. And on a daily basis, I have to say, I'm not here to save them. I'm here to show them some tools that they can pick up or not.
Yeah.
And my sobriety still has to come first. I still have to go to meetings, even though they're not like I would like in person. But I have a great, fabulous sponsor I've had the entire time. And, I still meet with her. We walk. I still work steps. And this life I have now would not be possible without all of that.
Correct.
And service work is a big piece of it. My spirituality and my path has changed from kind of just a generalized God. And I study a lot of Native American rituals. I volunteer on Pine Ridge. I work with the Chippewa as well and the tribe up in British Columbia. And so that's kind of been where I fill my cup.
Good for you. That's what, and I'm not sure where my mom goes. She goes somewhere in South Dakota, I think.
Probably Pine Ridge.
Yeah. So that's probably where my mom from. And that's what's so cool is, we get to pick our own, higher power and, and we can fill our cup in so many different places that, it's just unreal anymore. It's just a matter of, are we willing and open-minded enough to do that?
Absolutely. And now that's the fun part, I get to study Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever I want to do, I can do now because I'm sober.
Yeah.
And now that spiritual connection is like a drug of choice. Every night before I go to bed, I make sure I kind of get right with the universe and read something that's spiritual and say thank you for the thousands of gifts I have on a daily basis. And I have to remind myself to do that, which is crazy. But I do,
Yeah. Well, I still tell my brain cells and, my new brain cells every now and again, hey, we don't party here, guys. We don't do that here. They get disappointed, but, they find out that life is pretty fun without it.
It's amazing.
So I wanted to go back a little bit because
Sure.
you were talking, you get attached to your clients and, you and I really appreciate you saying, you want to save them because we want to save them, but we know that if we actually hand them their toolkit, that they're probably not going to make it. And that's the hard part is we have to, sit there and wait for them to do it and, pick it up. But when they do, it's just so
the best.
spectacular to watch.
It's the best, it really is. And whether, you work in the field or you just see it in the rooms.
Yeah.
It's, like you're like me, like we almost cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of those things like, oh my God, I never thought that they'd get it.
Yeah.
And some people don't make it. I had a brother who died at age 40 from it while my family waited for him to get it. And he didn't, and that's a sad truth. We don't know who's going to make it and who's not.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's really no way to determine that. I mean, I'll admit that there's been times when I thought somebody was going to make it and they didn't. And there's been times when I thought somebody wasn't going to make it and they did.
Right.
So who am I to make that kind of a judgment? So all I can really do is share my experience, strength, and hope that it clicks with them. That's beyond that. There's not much more I can do until they, do the inevitable help me.
Right. Yeah.
Then we can get on the road.
Absolutely. That's when the magic happens, for sure. And I always tell whether it's clients or people in the rooms, like if recovery isn't the greatest thing you've ever done, you can go back. But I guarantee you, if it wasn't fun, we wouldn't do it because we're selfish, self-centered, and self-seeking.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's absolutely true. If this wasn't fun, there's no way I'd make it.
Absolutely.
But this is the way I kind of saw it. And I'm actually doing this with my smoking right now because I'm getting ready to quit. There's plenty of other people out there that aren't drinking that seem to be having plenty of fun.
Yeah, and I'm tired, jobs.
And as a kid, I was always I always wanted to be a part of everything if something was happening, right?
Oh,
that hasn't changed much.
Twins.
Yeah,
we're twins.
And I wanted to be part of that fun, and now I get to be, and that's really cool.
Isn't it amazing, like that? Sobriety gave me everything I was looking for in my drinking. I was looking for validation, to belong, to have fun, to have a group of friends, to feel supported and loved. And I drank to find that and never got it. And when I stopped, all those things came in.
Yep. I would have to say probably the biggest difference for me is there wouldn't have been anybody to carry my casket when I was drinking. Now there's plenty of people that would be happy to carry it. But that's what alcoholism does, though. That's what addiction does. We drive away the people that mean the most to us.
Yeah, it becomes our primary relationship, and there's no room for anyone else.
Because, even as human beings, let's say I get angry, I'm probably going to take it out on the person I love the most because I know they're not going to leave me.
I know.
But when an alcoholic gets a hold of that, we drive them away. Literally.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So today my life is pretty damn amazing. And I have challenges, and I've gone through in sobriety, like my brother's suicide, an assault, severe car wreck, bankruptcy, foreclosure, some really fun things.
Yeah.
And you know what? I never had to drink, and I never, had to get arrested or go back to the hospital and get last rites. And I got through it and actually got a skill set the hard way, as we always get things, but that's itself a freaking miracle.
It is. When we start doing things that used to baffle us, I think is the part we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when we first get sober, we can barely wipe our own ass. So
No
for us
shit.
to think that we can go out and actually have, successful relationships, everything else, we got to give ourselves that chance. We got to give it time. It's not going to happen overnight, and it will be the hardest thing you ever do. It was for me, and I've done a lot of hard stuff.
But the best.
Yeah.
But the best. The most worthwhile.
And the more I put into it, the more I get out. Oh, so I get paid tenfold for everything that I do, and I don't even have to worry about it because I just get it. In fact, if I don't get it, I probably won't notice because God has something else planned.
And it's always better.
Yeah. I can plan the plan, but I can't plan the outcome.
I love that.
Oh, it's just like this podcast. In the very beginning we talked. I'm like, I don't care about barking dogs. We don't care. It's just life. And people need to realize that life is still going on. We're gonna have ups and downs. Okay, but the key is not necessarily even not to drink, but then get to the point where you're not going to have to apologize or make amends to somebody. Is another step in all of that. As we get better.
I know, and it's so, I keep saying amazing, so I'll try and fabulous to wake up and remember everything you did the day before.
Yep.
And I didn't drunk dial. I didn't.
There's somebody, and I don't remember who I stole it from, but I did steal this one. I never woke up sober wishing I had drank the night before.
I love that.
Yeah. I think it's those little sayings that keep us going, and
and they're true.
Yeah, and they stick with us because of what we've been through. So now, Wendy, I want to hand out your phone number because
sure.
what kind of work do you do? Why don't you fill us in on that?
I'm a CAC 3, which whatever they changed it to. Yeah.
Good on you.
Certified interventionist, and I've kind of worked in every aspect of treatment. After I got sober a few years, I started working on everything, worked at Detox, IOP, resident, worked at Harmony and Cedar, and then started working into the business development marketing piece of treatment.
Wow.
And traveled, worked nationally doing that. God's been so good to me. I did 38 round trip flights last year, visiting different treatment centers. So
I bet you just absolutely enjoyed that.
I love it. I just love it. And it's this whole COVID has been kind of a travel buzzkill.
Yeah.
But so I help people find the right treatment, and I am currently the director of a women's sober living in South Denver called Blossom Living.
Okay.
Blossom Living, our website is www.blossomrecoveryco.com.
Okay.
And I'm Wendy at blossomrecoveryco.com if anybody wants to email. And then I do some work with Red Point North up in Fort Collins, doing groups. Yeah, I'm kind of a workaholic.
Yeah.
And I didn't save a ton of money for retirement in my youth, so I'm playing catch up, but I love it. So I kind of do a lot of things, and I love it. I love having the variety. I'm not a typical 9-to-5 or same place, same job kind of girl.
I was finding that I was doing so many things that I had to start wearing, quote unquote hats. And I wasn't liking that. So I changed myself over to a recovery personality so I could just be whoever I want to.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And it suits you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So
yeah, thank you for letting me talk.
You are welcome. Let's hand out your phone number before we wrap up.
Okay.
Here.
It is 970-227-5633.
Fantastic. It's Wendy, thank you very much for being on and sharing.
Anytime.
I had a lot of fun listening to your story. It's very entertaining. You're a very entertaining person.
Ugh.
And I love that. Yeah.
I know
Wendy
you.
doesn't like compliments.
I know.
Um,
Yeah, I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. Thank you.
you are
Thank you.
welcome. We'll leave it at
Humor
that.
gets me through life.
Yeah, I hear you. I utilize humor for a lot of things. Help me get out of my anxiety if I'm nervous, you know. And that's one thing I actually watch for. Sometimes people will laugh when they're nervous. And there's just that little subtle difference, but you got to notice. All right,
Or
that's
in
a
pain.
whole different topic.
Right?
We'll be here for another hour. Oh, great. Wendy, thank you so much for taking your time.
Thanks, Dion.
We know you're really busy, so I really
Oh, yeah.
appreciate you
One
being
day.
on. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of and listening. If you would like to tell your story, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to have you on. Thank you, everyone, and Wendy, for taking your time today.
Thank you.
I love you all. Peace out.
Bye, everyone.
And have a day.